Hello, hello, brothers and sisters. It's a new week. We are very happy to introduce you to our show titled Speak of Africa. What are we going to say today? There's a whole lot of news breaking out in the motherland, and we want you to know what is happening. We want you to share this news with you. Yeah, much of what we see happening has to do with Russia playing for diplomacy. Russia is said to be isolated, but from what we see, Russia is not really isolated. The Russian government is moving around. It has found Africa again as its backyard. While the European colonial guys are chased out of Africa, Russia is welcome in Africa. One, the Africans do not see Russia as a threat. Interestingly, this is the truth. They do not see Russia as a threat. By contrast, they see France and the other European powers as threats, which is why even though the US and the European guys have been exerting pressure on African leaders to join the war in Ukraine, the Africans have been refusing. They are siding with Russia indirectly. Why are they refusing? Because they say the war in Ukraine is not about democracy. It's not about trying to introduce a democratic way of life in Ukraine. It's another facet of the Cold War. The US is using Ukraine as a proxy to fight Russia. That's the way a lot of African leaders see it. But before we go into detail, you've seen Sergei Lavrov, the foreign minister of Russia, traveling from one African capital to another, building relationships, especially those countries that have resources, like natural resources, gold, minerals. That's where Russia goes. Russia goes where those resources are. So they are just following the same playbook of the Western world. The only difference is they are not talking about human rights. They are not talking about democracy. They are talking about security. You bring us in, whether it is the Wagner Group, we'll protect you. Today you have the Africa Corps, which is a new organization that has replaced the Wagner Group in Africa. It's called Africa Corps. We're going to talk a lot about it. But before we continue, we want to remind you, Pharmacy Prof, we're accepting students for our pharmacy programs. We told you we're helping train pharmacy technicians, foreign pharmacy graduates, and pharmacy students. So we're accepting students for these classes. So feel free to call us or to go on our website and register for the classes. So we're encouraging a lot of our people to register for these classes because we want to impart the right knowledge to you. You don't want to come to America and be washing dishes or doing odd jobs. We want you to start working professional jobs from the very beginning. So take advantage of this. Those who are having issues with documentation, we have lawyers who can help them. Okay? Whether you're in Europe, whether you're in Africa, and you're planning to come to America, before you get to America, it may be a good idea to start planning to attend these classes. When you get to America, it becomes easy for you to morph and just start your program as a pharmacist. Okay? If you're a pharmacy student, we also have pharmacy professors who can help you. So we're really here to help you. Do not wait for other people from other ethnic groups to take advantage of these classes. We want Africans to take advantage of the classes. So with the show of today, we're looking at the way religion is splitting Africans. When we studied Al-Masri, the Africans, he talked about the triple heritage of Africa: Christianity, Islam, and indigenous belief systems. So that's the interplay that forms the fabric of the African experience. Today, we're still seeing the truth about what Al-Masri said, the triple heritage of Africa. Religion is still the core problem we face in Africa. And we're going to take Nigeria as an example. Nigeria is probably the most populous country in Africa. So when we look at it, religion is tearing this country apart. It looks like we are on the brink of a religious war in Nigeria. It's very, very serious. This morning, when we woke up, Some of you guys sent us pictures of ISIS, one of these offshoot of Boko Haram, jihadists. They slaughtered some young people in cold blood. They isolated them from other travelers. If you are Muslim, they spare your life. If you're a Christian, they kill you. And we'll have pictures of these people who were killed. So this is not only the first time that Christians have been killed in Nigeria. And it's not going to be the last time. So it's a serious problem, and we're bringing it to your attention because the powers that be, like Bola Tinubu, Shetima, they are not really taking this issue seriously. Muslims are killing Christians with joyful abandon. They are not doing anything about it. Rather, in their fight for power, they are placing most of these jihadist-minded politicians in positions of authority. If you don't believe in jihad, you will not get a good position in the government. So the government itself is condoning the killing of Christians, which is what a lot of you have told us, and we've seen it. The Bola Tinubu government has not really done much to change things. Muslims continue killing Christians, and this will continue. So this is not really the first time. You should know that these Muslims, these Fulanis, most of them came from Senegal and Morocco back in those days. So they were not really indigenous Africans. So Islam itself is a religion that was imported into Africa. It's not an African belief system. Similarly, Christianity was also imported. And in most African countries, you find the Muslim in the north, then the Christians in the south. Then, of course, you have Africans who believe in an African religion, different traditional belief systems. So this is what we have as a fabric. But what is happening? Christians are willing to live in peace with Muslims. But it looks like the Muslims do not want to tolerate the presence of Christians in Nigeria and other African countries. So we're drawing attention to this problem, and we want you to draw attention to this problem. It is not fair. We don't want Christians to be killing Muslims. Similarly, we don't want Muslims to kill Christians. This has to change, and the only way this can change is if the international community puts pressure on the Nigerian government. Because this government is not doing much, because it is led by Muslims, so they just think they can get more political power if they just pay lip service to the issue of security. It's a power game. But who is suffering? The common Nigerian is the one suffering. And that's what is happening. We don't want a coup d'etat to happen again in Nigeria, but from what we see, the circumstances in the country warrant the organization of a coup d'etat. Abdullah Sami, the former military head of state of Nigeria, even said it. Civilians are the ones who make the condition ripe for coup d'etats to take place in African countries. It's not the military guys. The military guys just take advantage of the situation. Right now, we're seeing that Bola Tinubu is creating the environment that will make for a coup d'etat in Nigeria. We're seeing it. The sad thing is, the coup d'etat may be too bloody. If you remember what happened in Ghana during the days of Jerry Rawlings, when a young guy comes to power, he flushes the whole old guard, because the old guard is very, very corrupt. You guys have sent us pictures and messages about politicians, especially the lawmakers. You've been talking to us, the way the guys just sit down, exchange money. The country is suffering, but they just want to consume the resources of the country. While there's inflation, the poor people are the ones suffering. A lot of things were happening during the time of Buhari. Bola Tinubu inherited a lot of problems, but his policies, after you look at his first year tenure, have not made Nigeria better economically. That's an argument of a lot of Nigerians. And that's why the labor unions are also in the street protesting for better wages, protesting against inflation. You don't need to be an economics major to understand what inflation is. Inflation is a situation in which a lot of money is chasing very few goods, which means if you used to buy something for 10 naira say a loaf of bread. Because of inflation, you need probably 30 naira to buy that same loaf of bread a few months from today. That's what inflation is about, okay? And that's the experience of the average Nigerian today. The labor unions are protesting because they've seen the way the politicians are squandering the resources of the country. Shetima, VP of Nigeria, why do we have to spend thousands and millions of dollars to clean up your office, restore it to a grandeur? Why? When your average Nigerian is suffering, is this worthwhile? We do not think so. This is actually waste. These are resources that could have been put into developing the Nigerian economy. Okay? Rather, these politicians sit there and exchange gifts. Then what about the money that the average person does not even see? So corruption is a serious problem from what most of you guys are telling us. Corruption in Nigeria is really what is driving the average person on the street to madness. When you look at the strike that is going on now, the Nigerian government is trying to negotiate with the labor unions, but so far there's been a stalemate because the conditions or the incentives the government is offering are not good enough. So the guys are still in the street protesting. Then things are really worse because when we saw pictures of the brutal killing of Christians, that exacerbates the problem. So insecurity is strongly tied to what is happening now in Nigeria with even the labor union strike. The people realize that when a place is insecure, the place cannot be fertile ground to do business. Okay? You can only do business in a place that is stable and secure. When a place is insecure, how can you do business? Yet the politicians sit in those sumptuous offices and share money. The money that is supposed to belong to the people, the money that is supposed to be used to help the people, the politicians are using this money in the wrong way. So when we hear about a class struggle, we don't want to look at it in the typical Karl Marxist perspective, where you have a conflict between the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. But that's just the way we're seeing it. It looks like the poor people have had it up to here. So they may start challenging and fighting their bourgeoisie masters because they want a piece of the action. They cannot continue living in abject poverty. And that's the condition we face now in Nigeria. Next, we want to take you to La République du Cameroon. In La République du Cameroon, the war in Ambazonia continues. Boko Haram is in the north around the Lake Chad basin. Once in a while, they make incursions into the Cameroonian territory. They hurt people, kill people, and leave. Where's the B boys of Pobia? Most of the time, they are not there. Boko Haram comes, strikes, then they go back into the Zambisa forest. Nobody gets them. So they are always striking. They strike, they come. So the Chad basin is a very fertile ground for Boko Haram. And they are really a menace in La République du Cameroon. When they are looking for them in La République du Cameroon, they move to Chad or they move to the Nigerian section. So those guys are very clever. They are always moving. Okay? But Cameroon has been spending time only talking politics, football politics. You guys have noticed that for over 6 weeks, I've not even talked about the conflict between Samuel Eto'o and the Minister of Sports, Narcisse Kombi. I've not talked about it because to me, that conflict is just a personality struggle. Samuel Eto'o wants to be a dictator. Narcisse Kombi feels he is a minister entitled to make decisions, so the two are knocking heads. But is this good for Cameroon? Well, Paul Biya tries to act as the referee, yet the conflict continues. But there's one shining moment. I watched the match at the Amadou Ahidjo Stadium a few days ago. Cameroon defeated Cape Verde in the opening match 4-1. That was the score, 4-1. So that was a good performance by Cameroon. After all the noise and confusion of Samuel Eto'o, at least they were able to eke out a victory. So that was commendable. And we move now to Burkina Faso.
$25,000 to $250,000 per year made easy. Do you dream about making big money? Well, we all do. Imagine joining pharmacy professionals to earn good money. Statistics show that the big pharma industry rules and controls America like a colossus. Do you want to find more details about the hidden gem? Join the Pharmacy Success crew now. Become a pharmacy professional today. Let us train you as pharmacy techs, foreign pharmacy graduates, USA pharmacy students. Learn to earn. We offer affordable online and offline programs. Act now. Browse our website for details, pharmacyprof.com, or call 301-760-0335.
Burkina Faso now too is a country where the young people are jaded by the killing, they are traumatized by the war effort. We've told you that Burkina Faso is a country of Ibrahim Traoré. The young man is really doing a great job to try to stabilize the country. His detractors are not happy because he extended his term in office. He said he has to be there for another 5 years or more. But he is claiming that he wants to stabilize the place because a big swath of the country is probably in the hands of jihadists. So they are not really controlling the entire country. So how can you have a country and you cannot control it? So that leads to bad governance. So even the overtures Ibrahim Traoré tried to make to the politicians, they are not really sincere because they are false. Okay? So the politicians do not really have the right to compete in this space. Ibrahim Traoré is monopolizing the political space, and he has been able to win the support of some of the people, so they are making noise. Then a few days ago, we saw some of the tractors and armored cars that he bought to fight the jihadis. Then he also bought a lot of earth-moving instruments to till the ground for farmers. So farmers are very happy with this overture. A government, at least, that is caring about what the people want. So this is something positive, okay? Then we'll take you next to Congo DRC. A few weeks ago, there was a coup d'etat in Congo DRC. And we told you that it was not a well-planned coup. People have tried to make noise to insinuate that Americans were involved in the coup. It is true, some people living in America participated in the coup, but we don't really understand the level of their participation or the degree of their involvement. This week, we got news that the government of Felix Tshisekedi has put these people on trial. Well, we hope they're going to get a free and fair trial. That's what we're hoping for, because we need to have justice. Okay? But at the same time, there's still violence. The M23 and ISIS, ADF, they are killing people in the east. Killing people in the east. So the killing field remains. I think today I got news that over 38 people were killed in the eastern part of Congo DRC. What is happening? We're telling you that the people are fighting for resources. When they fight for resources, the poor people are the ones who suffer. And that's what we know is happening in this part of the world. The fight goes on. The villagers are always caught in the middle. When M23 attacks the forces of Felix Tshisekedi, the people are the ones who are caught in the middle in the crossfire of gun hellfire. Okay? So this is not really good. The international community is just watching what is happening. They keep telling Paul Kagame, hey, stop what you're doing, stop what you're doing. You don't need to just say that. You need to use force. As they say, law without force is impotence. That's what my law professor used to say. Law without force is impotence. We even said that even in a constitutional state, a successful state that is well governed, there must be a monopoly of force used by the government. But it has to be legitimate. That's the main condition. But what is happening in Congo DRC is a very weak government. Felix Tshisekedi won a re-election saying he's going to declare war on Paul Kagame. Has he done so? No. So what is he waiting? We don't know what he's waiting for. It looks like you may have to wait for a long more time before you see some kind of action. People will continue dying and nothing is happening. That's the sad part with what is happening in Congo. But at least we're drawing your attention to some of these problems. On a bright light, we take you to Ghana. Ghana has been making a lot of effort to woo Americans and other African members of the diaspora to Ghana for homecoming. And it looks like this campaign is bearing fruits. You can see it. Now that Stevie Wonder has become a Ghanaian citizen, Ghana is going to get a lot of benefits from this. They're going to reap a lot of benefits because Stevie Wonder is very popular, so his popularity is going to cash in. Okay? The people will cash in on this popularity and make use of it. We think this is the good thing the government of Ghana, of Nana Akufo-Addo, can do with Stevie Wonder's popularity. It's a good thing, just the way Kenya promotes travel to come and see the safari and stuff like that. Ghana is promoting travel to come to the slave sites like Elmina Castle. You see the beautiful Elmina Castle. You see the passage of no return. Once you leave, you get in there, you only get into the ship to the Americas. You don't come back. So it's really emotional and a very harrowing experience. And our people know this. So when you look at what is happening, we have a whole lot of pictures we can share with you about the slave experience. And people talk about the Middle Passage. It was a very horrifying and humiliating experience. We're not there, but we can feel the pain. Because after thousands of years, we have to continue remembering slavery because our people suffered. I don't want to accuse anybody who sold whom to slavery. That's not what is important. We're just happy that the African people are returning home. African Americans are returning to Africa. That's something positive, and we have to salute the government of Ghana for doing that.
Tired of waiting in long lines at the emergency room or your doctor's office? You should be. Why wait in long lines for care? It's time for you to come to Lucille Urgent Care. Real care, no waiting. Lucille Urgent Care, the best place for true and loving care. Service at Lucille Urgent Care is convenient, fast, time-efficient, affordable, accessible, transparent, and cost-effective. Royal treatment is your right. Indeed, it's not just a privilege or pejorative. Skip the emergency room's long lines, kiss the ER goodbye, say farewell to your old doctor's office, pay less, save time, enjoy the excitement of convenience, receive immediate treatment, get the healthcare you need quickly and affordably. Lucille Urgent Care offers many express services: rapid COVID-19 testing, on-site prescription, preventative lab services, imaging and x-rays, urgent medical treatment for common illnesses and injuries, routine vaccines and flu shots, work-related injury services, pre-employment, occupational, annual, and sports physicals, immigration exams, and much more. Same-day treatment, rapid lab results, extended hours, weekend hours, no appointment necessary, no insurance necessary, no doctor necessary, walk-ins accepted, telemedicine available. We are open 7 days a week with evening and weekend hours. We are located in Maryland. Lucille Urgent Care, 903 Half York Road, Towson, Maryland, 21204. Website, lucilleuc.com. Call at 443-275-1286 or 301-593-4897.
In Kenya, a lot of the news have to do with Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga has been running for president and he has lost many times. The last time he ran against William Ruto. So William Ruto now is supporting his candidacy for the African Union. You ask yourself, why is he really fighting for the African Union? Well, the Chadian guy, Mohamed Faki, is the new president of the African Union. We told you before, the African Union is a dysfunctional organization. This should have been organized to become the African Parliament, where power is divided among Africans, African countries. That would probably be the genesis of trying to unite Africa. But today, the AU is just a dictator's club. It doesn't really fulfill any useful function. So we're saying that the AU needs to be remade. It needs to be remade into a genuine African parliament where each country would have votes, just like a parliament that exists in any civilized country. Okay? That would be a precursor to uniting the whole of Africa into one nation, into the African nation. Okay? From Kenya now, we'll take you to South Africa. South Africa had its election. It's true, the ANC for the first time lost its majority, and we explain to you why the ANC lost its majority. The political party that brought democracy to South Africa lost election because it did not deliver on the goods. One, the ANC, just like the government in Nigeria, is very, very corrupt. You see black people running a country, but they are very, very corrupt. So the people who were born after Mandela was free did not see eye to eye with the ANC. They felt that it was time for them to turn a new leaf, to choose a party that was more progressive. Jacob Zuma was corrupt. Cyril Ramaphosa is corrupt. But the two of them are still fighting for power, as if they have not had enough power. The young people are looking for jobs. That's what they need. Jobs, jobs, jobs. They want wealth redistribution. So when we look at the landscape in South Africa, who is going to really form any alliances with the ANC? The DA party is more pro-white. And we think it may not really make sense for the ANC to try to make a deal with them. So from what we see, when we read the tea leaves, it looks like the party of Julius Malema, EFF, Economic Freedom Fighters Party, may be probably a more malleable party that has the same black interests at heart that the ANC can use to form a coalition. Then, what about the party of Jacob Zuma? Well, Jacob Zuma is a bitter enemy of Cyril Ramaphosa. He feels dirty politics was used to kick him out of power. So he doesn't want to support Cyril Ramaphosa. So it will be very tough for his party to work with Cyril Ramaphosa. Actually, Jacob Zuma played the role of a spoiler in the present election season, and he wants to maintain that position. He wants to mess up his rival, Cyril Ramaphosa, and he has succeeded. Still, he would prefer that Cyril Ramaphosa should be deposed. He should not continue as president today. As a result, we think he will be unlikely to form a coalition with the ANC. So the only hope we have now is for the Economic Freedom Fighters Party of Julius Malema to form a coalition government with the ANC. At least if they do this, Julius Malema will force the ANC to dilute their platform, to make it more progressive. And when this happens, I think it's going to be better for South Africa. The young people are going to have more hope to be able to have a better livelihood and a better future. Finally, we take you to Sudan. Sudan is still having a war, and the war rages on. The effects are catastrophic. The RSF and the government continue fighting. They don't care who is hurt. Over 10,000 people have been killed. We hear millions, over 10 million have been displaced. Efforts to bring these people to the table for peace have failed. They have failed so many times. So what is the solution? You've watched our video. Tell us, what do you think would be a better way to solve the problems that we're advocating, that we're presenting to you now? Come up with ideas. Use our comment section to speak. Write what you think, and we're going to share them with other viewers of this channel. We thank you very much, and may God bless you.
Do you need tax preparation services? We can help. Contact PJ Tax Service, America's only full-time income tax preparers. Like the good old doctor, we do not close our doors after April 15th. In fact, we stay open all year round in order to serve you. We are located at 11207A, Lockwood Drive, Silver Spring, Maryland, 20901. Make an appointment today with Prince Ojong, your tax expert. Call 240-350-1131 or visit us on the web at www.pjtaxservice.com.
Selling a service or a product? Need buyers? Use the African Nation TV as a channel to reach many viewers. Act now and call Prince Ojong at 240-350-1131. That's 240-350-1131. Act today.